Passion, drive, persistence, resilience, love. All qualities that shape and define us. Join the Cyber Warrior as he helps shape your path. This is Walk With Me. Welcome back to Walk With Me, a Cyber Warrior Studios production. I'm your host on this journey, the Cyber Warrior. Now, over the past 36 weeks, we have talked a lot about a ton of different topics, whether that's goals, planning, execution, just so many. It goes on. I can't even remember them all. It would take me a while. But the one thing about those shows is it was always just me. And it was always just me giving my perspective. So this week I figured, you know what? We're going to change it up a little bit because, well, you got to make it fun. So I decided that I'm going to invite a guest on this week. Now, my guest is a good friend of mine. She is my sister. I call her one of my warriors. And I am so grateful that she has been willing to join me this evening. So without further ado, let's welcome on Andrea Myler. Andrea, how's it going?
It's going spectacular. How are you today?
You know, I can't complain. All right. I mean, the weather sucks, let's be honest, but it's still a gorgeous day. It's just a little cold. And I was hoping for better weather, but you know, it is what it
Absolutely.
is. So thank you for joining me this evening. And I know that we talk a lot. We talk about spirituality, we talk about careers, we talk about society. There's just so much that we cover. But I figured today would be a great day to get you on because with the topics at hand, and they're very important because I think society has lost sight of these topics. And first and foremost is, who are you? Now, saying that, who are you, Andrea?
I like to refer to myself as a goddess, just like a spiritual little goddess. I'm just, floating through the universe. And I say that because I've had so many different life experiences, but those things have not really, defined who I am as an individual. But they have definitely shaped and molded me to be the woman who you see today. It's just amazing where we're going to be in life. And, for me, it's more about the impact now more than ever, because it's not about me. It's not about me as a woman. It's not about what I do in my career. None of that matters. It's more of the impact on humanity and what I set out to do every day, to help somebody else along this journey.
Yeah, definitely. And that's definitely going to get into our second topic, right? The end of that kind of our impact and what we do to help others. And the reason I ask this question is because me personally, I joke around a lot. I tell people I'm a German leprechaun, I'm German and Irish, I'm a straight white male. I can go on and on about a bunch of ways that you can identify, but that is not who I am. I do
Right.
not hold my identity into what I look like or what my heritage is. My identity and who I am a husband, I am a father, I am a son, I am a brother, I am a perpetual fighter, I am a cybersecurity professional. Who I am is different than what I look like.
Yes.
And that is something that I think differentiates people like myself and you and quite a few others. I would say probably all my warriors from everybody else in society, or at least a good portion of them, and that we don't hold our identity and I identify as a black female, or I identify as this, or I identify as that, as who we are, because that's your exterior. That's what you look like. That's not who you are. And if we hold that who we are as an existential, as our identity, then you're going to limit yourself. You're going to say, I can only do this because it's my lane, because it's what I identify as, because of this, that, the third. Whereas as a person, we can accomplish so much if you strip away the physical and you go more towards who you are inside, what is in your heart, your soul, your mind, all these different things. And so, would you say, in your opinion, because if you go back before the internet, before social media, and I'd say even before media, maybe radio would be the last time it was really popular. where who you were was not what you looked like. It was what you brought to the table.
Oh, of course. Definitely. And that's the thing, with all this social media, new technologies, and all of this stuff, it's definitely, had an effect on who we see as people today. It's more of like peer pressure. Like the pressure is on now to identify with something that you see in society, more or less than being the real person that most people normally wouldn't see. When you really get down to it, like me as a person, like I am not who you think I am. I am not this person you see on the outside. Like there's a whole different woman on the inside of me, and I'm here to tell you, the world ain't ready for it because I can get so deep off into this spirituality stuff, and I'm not very religious, a religious person, but I'm very very spiritual, and what I connect with and what really identify me as an individual on the inside of this body.
And I think that's very important in what you mentioned there is spirituality. And I think that is because you have three types of people out there, the way I see it, in terms of spirituality, right? You have religion, which they
Mhm.
hold steadfast to the religion, and it doesn't matter what it is. Lutherans argue with Catholics, argue with whatever. It's all Christianity, but they argue and they have different sects amongst themselves. Then you have atheists who have absolutely no belief system. And then you have more of your spiritual people, which don't get me wrong, even in some sects of paganism, things like that, they go off on tangents and have their own beliefs and have to hold steadfast to whatever. But the reality of it is, I find that people that are more spiritual, regardless of what God or gods or whatever you believe in, those that are more spiritual and hold more to a faith on spirituality versus acquiescing to a religion, which let's be honest, your religions are more of a, I hate to say it because depending on who you talk to, they'll complain and say faith is man-made also, but your religions have a lot of man-made laws. They don't necessarily acquiesce to the written word as it is by whatever holy scripture they abide by.
Right.
They interpret it differently, and so your different religions end up like you have to believe this or you're no longer in this religion. So when I look at who I am, I won't hold to I won't say I'm religious. I will say I'm spiritual. I will say I
Yes.
believe certain things. I have a different way of acknowledging different deities and different gods and goddesses and things of that nature. That's just who I am. That
Mhm.
doesn't make me. It's just because religion to me is just I can't define myself as any part of any religion, regardless of what it is. Now there are faiths and journeys, as a lot of people have realized that I walk more frequently and feel stronger connection to than others, but that makes me more spiritual. That makes me more of someone who holds on to, yes, there are this deity or deities or however you want to think about it, but I don't hold to a man's teachings. I hold to what I find in their written word or in their stories or in what have you.
Right.
So it's a different way of going about things. But I
Right.
think that just like back in the day, your religions and things fought back and forth because they let that define who they
Yes.
were. We are seeing that these days. Only now your faith in spirituality and religion is basically completely wiped off the table because let's be honest, no matter where you go, a lot of your religions and spirituality and faith has been like, I don't know, I don't believe anything. I'm an atheist or agnostic or whatever. They have no actual belief system or faith to hold into. So now we're holding on to what we look like. I identify as a woman. I identify as a man.
Hmm.
I identify as this. I identify as that. I look black. I look yellow. I look green. I look blue. Whatever. We're holding on to these identities.
Hmm.
What happened to, and this is why I'm not a huge fan of getting away from spirituality and what we hold true to because I think spirituality helped us look at what was inside us,
Yes.
not
Definitely.
not the exterior. The exterior is just, guess what? It's going to fade away and it's going to die. Whether you're an atheist or spiritual, guess what? When you die, you're dead. That the skin peels away, everything else is gone. All you are is bones at that point. So why are we holding this facade, this exterior, and being like, this is my identity. It's not. Your identity is what's in here.
I agree. I totally agree. And for me, it really doesn't matter about what someone sees on on the outside. I
Mm,
know who I am on the inside. I know that there's this person that really wants to live, but if I connect solely with the exterior, then that doesn't give the inside the chance to live and to experience other things. So for me, when we identify with all of these different things externally, whether we be a male, female, black, brown, blue, Caucasian, whatever, those things are other things that really segregate us and keep us from reaching our truest potential, And in order to really identify with who you really are, I think it comes from spending so much time with yourself, getting
mm.
comfortable with being alone, you know, spending time with yourself. And for me, that has been one of the best things that I've ever could have done in my life, being okay with just being alone by myself, and spending time with myself.
And I think that's the biggest thing, right? We're so afraid. We've become a society and a culture that is so afraid to be alone. You look at, even marriage and things like that. And I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of all that, but that's on the decline, right? The
Right.
divorce is at an all time high, marriage is at an all time low. Like all these things, have led to it. But and I think it's because we're so afraid of differences or the slightest bit of conflict, yet we bring on conflict ourselves when we're like, this is me and it's just this. It's just how I look. It is not who I am inside. It's, well, I have to be X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to bring on conflict because this is how I identify. This is who I am as a person. No, no, no. Your exterior is not who you are as a person, but that's what they want to portray. And so with that, they're bringing on more conflict on top of conflict at home. And so now who you are is so closely tied to what you look like versus who you are inside. And when you're looking at the relationships and just everything else and all this stuff on the decline and incline and I just look at it and I'm just like, we've brought all this conflict on. We have decided that we are no longer going to hold to any spirituality. We are now just going to hold on to ourselves and identify with what we look like,
Yeah.
not who we are on the inside. And I've
Right.
noticed this a lot more. And I think that's going to be the one of the biggest issues we see down the road is until you strip away social media, until you strip away mainstream media and mass media and everything else and go back to everybody is just a voice. And then what you see is in person. I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Well, definitely not. With all of these different social strengths that's out there and all of these different things that are we're gravitating to, as people, because this is what we see. This is the norm now. So, and it makes you wonder, will it ever be different if we ever go back to the basics? Because there was a time I can remember where none of this stuff really mattered, and people just believed what they believed, and hey, nothing never really separated us, to be honest. So it's just so much pressure from society, and having to fit in or having to subscribe to different groups, different beliefs, whatever that may be. The more we subscribe to these different things, the more we lose individuality.
Right, and I think that's also huge, right? We talk about individuality, and I talk about this a lot. Is everybody should be their authentic selves. Be you. Be an individual. When you try to fit in with this particular group, regardless of what that is, and on here we can get again. I don't get into some of the more the divisive topics necessarily, but even when you do, you look at it, it's, oh, you have to be part of the red, Republicans or Democrats, or, you know, you have to agree with everything in this organization or this tribe or that tribe. When the reality of it is, whatever happened to civil discourse? And I was talking to somebody recently. Actually, funny enough, it was on TikTok of all things that they want to ban. Really, they just want to get. We're not going to get into it, but um, it was one of those things where When was the last time you saw anything in politics that wasn't a smear? So now we don't even know what our own politicians believe in because they're too busy digging up dirt on the other politicians
Right.
to say why they're bad. And when we look at it as society, I think even in society, we look at people as, are they evil? We're not looking at, are they good? But we're so ingrained with picking the lesser of two evils because we only believe in two parties for some reason. But we're so ingrained with picking the lesser of the evils and not the good. And I think that is where the problem lies because now it's ingrained in our heads. Everybody's evil. Just pick your flavor of crazy and your flavor of evil and go with it. Why? Why do we have to be that way? Why have we allowed ourselves to become so depraved that we'd rather pick our flavor of evil than pick our flavor of good? And I think that is really where who you are defines you. Do you choose evil or do you choose good? And yeah, you can get into the nitty gritty and morality of it and what's good and what's bad and this, that, the third. But everything you look at in society is, well, this isn't as evil as this. This
Right.
has a different thing than this. And we you can get into, well, this person is a victim or this class is a victim or this class is a victim. But who
Right.
are you as a person? As a person. Strip away everything. Who are you on the inside? That's what matters. And when I post questions like that, like I did today, it was because I wanted to do research at what people said. I wanted to see if they put out their exterior features of, oh, well, I'm, this color, this race, this gender, this identity, this whatever, versus what people think. And again, this is why I love my network and my warriors because none of them did that. Some of them made jokes. Don't get me wrong. I had one say he's Batman. I had another one say she's the mother of a dragon, which she is. She's the mother of a bearded dragon on top of all of her other ones. But then I had two others and yourself, actually, so three others that didn't define themselves by what they looked like. It was, of course, you're a goddess who, is just going through life and trying to find her path and help people as much as possible. But then I had two other gentlemen, husband, father, brother, whatever, versus, oh, I'm this race, this ethnicity, this nationality, this gender, this whatever. That never came up. And that is what I love about my warriors is it's not about any of that. It's about who you are.
Right.
And if you let
And
your gender and you let your sexuality and you let your race and you let your nationality and you let all this stuff define you, then you're never going to find out who you are. And I think you said it best, Andrew, with talking about being alone.
oh yeah, because for me, I a year ago, my husband and I, we moved to Phoenix. Didn't
Mm,
know anyone out there. We just went exploring because we wanted to be more closer to nature. We both are big hikers, and we wanted to just go explore. So we took a year and we just hiked all over Sedona, all over the Grand Canyon. We went everywhere just exploring, and it was some of the most peaceful moments in my life. Just being in nature. It was just us, nobody else, with no friends, no one. Just my husband and myself. And I really got to know myself up close and personal. And there were some times when I had to strip away some stuff that looked good on the outside, but hey, on the inside, I was a wrecking ball. And it was that moment, that really just had I had a moment, and I really reconnected with who I really was. And that's why I answered the question the way that I did, because it doesn't matter what color I am. It doesn't matter if I'm a woman. It doesn't matter if I'm a black woman. It doesn't matter if I love all people. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. What matters the most is the impact that I get to make in this life, doing this journey. If I'm going to treat people the way I want to be treated, am I going to treat them with dignity and respect? Or am I going to judge them because they don't look like me? They don't talk like me. They don't eat the same food that I eat. None of that stuff matters. Not even the political parties. It's more of the impact.
definitely. And I feel that completely because I think we get so wrapped up in what we look like. We get so wrapped up in this, and we've let this divide us. We've let this pull us apart at the seams. And this is why, and people get mad when I say I'd rather go back 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. And they're like, oh, well, you didn't want rights for this. No, 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 no. I'm talking about just when you looked at some of your tribes. Yeah, you had tribal fighting, but most of the people that were in a community, regardless of what they look like, got along. You'd have different wars, you'd have different things break out. Don't get me wrong. No nation, no country, no anything has ever been built off of clean hands. Everything has
Right.
always come down to shedding blood. But when you look at it from a standpoint of just the communities you built, you would have someone that would oversee judgment as far as, okay, pay this person whatever, like cows or horses or sheep or
Hmm.
you name it. Or some people deserve death, and so you got that. No matter what it was, you had these things. But this divisiveness, and again, I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. We only know the stories that were ever told to us.
Hmm.
But from the stories I've seen, it was more, you had more of that community. You had more of that, unless you, and let's be wrong, people were idiots. So, unless you were a leper, you really weren't frowned upon necessarily. Um, so I look at it as, again, these are just stories we're told, and we don't know. None of us have been there. But if this is truly how it was, where okay, we had these little things to fix, but generally speaking, women took care of home, men took care of home. Men went out to war, women fought. This, that, and the third happened. It was seen more equally, I
Right.
would say, and and nobody. It wasn't a fight for rights or privileges or this, that, the third. It was, we all belong here, so we're all going to pitch in. We're all going to do this. And now it's gotten away from that. It's
Yeah.
now it's, who are you? Well, I'm a woman and I'm deprived of this, so now I got to go do this. Or I'm a man and I'm deprived of this, so I've got to go fight for this or whatever. Instead of, you're a community, you're a person. Why are you defining yourself by what is on the exterior? Why? Because that
Oh,
has no bearing on who you are as a person and what you bring to the table.
right.
There
I
are certain
agree.
exceptions. There are certain exceptions. Genetically, we can, whole nine yards. There's big difference, but as a person, it doesn't define you and what
Right.
you can bring to the table. We all bring something,
Yes.
and so I think who we are has gone way off track.
I agree. And for me, I think I would say this, that we need to get back to having humanity, where the humanistic side is allowed to come out. We need to have more love for our neighbors, more love for each other. Doesn't matter if I know you or I don't know you. If you have a need and I'm able to assist you with meeting that need, then I need to be able to help you. With no.
Unfortunately, though, we become a society so tied to green, so tied to money, that 9 times out of 10, if you need something, it's financial. And so then eventually it's like, well, now you're burning into my pocketbook. Now you're burning in. I can't even buy food for my kids now because you always need something. But when it's just, hey, can you help me garden? Can you teach me this? Can you help me do that? And this is why I say I'd honestly love for the entire financial system to die and for us to go back to barter and trade, because that makes more sense. I can teach you to fix a computer. I can teach you how to fix X, Y, and Z. Are you going to help me change my oil in my car or fix a tire or whatever? Are we going to help each other out and do these things for each other? Game on. You want to go brew some ale? Let's go do it. We'll run a whole thing together. I ain't got no problems with that. You want to garden? I'll help. I'll do the manual side, but I don't mess with taking care of it because I might mess something up and drown those plants. I don't know. Um, so I stick to what I know, but that's where we need to rely on our differences. And too many people have been afraid to be different.
Right.
They're afraid of their differences. As well, I got to be able to do everything you can do. Why? Why?
Doesn't work that
Why
way.
do you have to do everything that somebody else can do? We are different for a reason, because
Yes.
without those differences, we are going to completely disintegrate as humanity. completely disintegrate.
Right. I agree. Um, I agree with you 100% on that. It's just, we're in a place now that we have really lost touch. We're out of touch with, what's really going on and where our focus really needs to be. And we have to find a way to get it, to get back to the basics. And for me, again, it's all about, well, what kind of woman or what kind of person will you be tomorrow? I always question myself, like, if things changed, what kind of person will I be tomorrow?
Definitely. I completely agree with that. And that's why me and you've talked about it, right? As long as I am doing better tomorrow than I was today as a person, and I'm not talking financially, I'm not talking about anything else. As a human being, am I a better person tomorrow than I was yesterday? That's what's important to me. But
Right.
saying that, that's going to bring us in and kind of lead us into our next topic. And that's talking about legacy. Back in the day, and you'll see this through all faiths, through all religions, throughout all of history, your legacy is what carried your name. Your legacy is what mattered, good or bad. Now, there were people that did evil that thought they were doing good, but still, it was your legacy. Now, I think in this day and age, um, we should be able to discern right from wrong a little bit better. You would hope, you would think. So, the way I see it is, what legacy do you leave behind? In your eyes, do you think that people have quit caring about the legacy they leave behind?
I would say that people are a bit confused. Some tend to be confused, because for some people it just doesn't matter no matter what. And for most, their legacy is going to be tied to their spirituality, because the two has to exist together. There's no way, because my actions are going to be tied to my beliefs. And I don't care what I do on Friday night after work, or Monday at work. The person is still going to be that person. You can fool yourself, but
I,
let's be real.
I love the way you say that though, because again, conversation earlier today with my brother, me and him were talking, and I said, I think the reason people quit caring about legacy is because they have lost their faith. They have lost their spirituality. They have lost whatever. Because if you have no fear of an afterlife, and I don't, well, let's not say fear. If you don't
I know,
believe
belief.
in an afterlife, then when you die, you're dead. So what does your legacy matter to you? Because you're not going to be there to see it. It doesn't affect you. Whereas those with any type of spirituality believe, I'm going to be able to look down upon them. I'm going to be able to see this. I'm going to be able to live on because I'm going to see all the stories. I'm going to hear all the things. I'm going to know what was said about me. And so when I think of legacy, I want to be known for the good that I did in my life. I want to be known. I want my warriors to carry on my name. I want my family to carry on my name and be proud of it. But if I'm living a life that when I die, people are like, sucks to be him. Then what does that mean for me? What does that mean for the way I live my life? And I think that as a society, because we've lost that spirituality, and I'm probably gonna lose viewers and listeners or whatever because of this, but it's what I believe. Because we've lost that spirituality, we've lost that understanding that when you die, you're still going to have to see what everybody else is doing. You're still going to have an understanding of what everybody else is doing. So if you were angry because people talked bad about you when you were alive, imagine what they're going to say about you when you're dead because you were a prick.
Oh my God. I love
And,
it.
and that's what I think about legacy. I want my kids to be proud when I move on from this world. I want my kids to be proud to say they I was their father and they were my sons. I don't want
Absolutely.
my kids to be like, uh, he was a prick. I don't want nothing to do with him. Like I don't want that. I don't want my warriors, my family to sit there and be like, he talked a big game, but he didn't do nothing. Like that's not what I want. So I do everything in my power to affect that because I'm not gonna lie. Again, we're not all completely altruistic. Actually, no one is completely altruistic. When I move on from this world, I want stories written about me, about the things that I've done, because I want it to make an impact. I want my
Yes.
legacy to mean something. And if I move on from this world and no one's telling stories, no one's saying my name, no one's doing anything on my behalf, then everything I have done has been for nothing.
Right.
And that is not what I want, because I want community. I want us to love each other. I want this legacy to mean something. But I think too many people have forgotten that your name can carry weight.
Oh God, yes, it does. Yes. Your name alone is power, and that alone just makes me think about, our thoughts, how our thoughts are so powerful, and it's what you give life to, your beliefs, if you think negative, then yeah, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to give it life. But for me, everything that I envision, it comes to pass. It has to, because it all starts in the mind, and just what I give thoughts to in my mind, that's what I'm creating. I'm creating it on the realistic side, even though it's being created, spiritually within me. But my thoughts become things. I have that type of power, and somebody may look at me and tell me I'm crazy and that doesn't exist, but those are my thoughts. They're very powerful.
And everybody's are. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna send you a video after this that my brother sent me. We'll deal with it. But but no, I look at things, and I've talked about bringing your dreams to reality, where if you never make them goals, if you never put them on paper, they're still just dreams. So if you are going to believe something into existence, you have to act on it. If you just think about it and you never act on it, then you can't bring your thoughts, you can't bring your dreams, you can't bring anything you want into reality. But if you take what you're thinking about, if you take your thoughts, if you
Action.
believe it, if you feel it, if this becomes part of you and you act on it. And I
Yes.
think that is what people are missing, is that acting on part. And when we think about our legacies, so many people are like, "Oh, I want to be a good person. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this," but they never act on it. That fear holds them back. So, in my eyes, a lot of people's legacies are going to be, they were a coward. They were afraid. They talked a big game. They tried, but they never acted on anything. All they were was all talk. All they were was thoughts and prayers and whatever else. They never did anything.
Because that fear takes your power away from you, and you become powerless when fear takes over.
What
But when
else
you
takes your power away?
don't get me started, booze and alcohol.
I say that because I believe I just did a video on this about giving people the power over your decisions, giving people the power over your
Hmm.
legacy, giving people the power over how you act. The moment you put your goals, the moment you put your decisions in someone else's hands and say, "Hey, you decide this for me. You have decided I want no power for myself. I want nothing. I am nothing without you deciding it for me."
No.
And I think when you look at legacy, when you look at decisions, when you look at fear, fear is the ultimate way to take away your power.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with that.
So
That
what
doesn't
causes
reside over
that?
here. I'm sorry?
What causes that?
I think, failure sometimes causes that. The fear of failing, it keeps a lot of people from trying things. It keeps a lot of people from pursuing their lifelong dreams because they're so afraid of what somebody else is going to say if they fail, and failure really is the fuel for success.
So are people, as humanity, as society,
Hmm.
based on fear.
Right.
taking everything and putting it in someone else's hands. I'm going to bring this back around to one last thing on that topic. Why, on Midgard, on Earth, on whatever, are we as humanity putting our decisions, putting the way we live our lives in someone else's hands? I'm not talking faith, I'm not talking deity. I'm talking in Andrea, you know what I'm getting at here.
I hear you loud and clear.
Why are we as society putting our decisions, our abilities, our capabilities, our work, our life, our everything else in somebody else's hands?
As a warrior, we don't do that. We're responsible warriors. We're responsible people. We don't do
We take
that.
accountability.
Yes, with
We combat
responsibility.
we combat fear because we're afraid. We're always afraid. Don't get me wrong, it is impossible to live without fear. You control that fear and you own it. So for me, for you, I don't want anybody making my decisions for me. I know right from wrong. I know what makes me a good human and I know how to do better. And I work on doing better, making better decisions for me, for my wife, for my kids, for my warriors, for everybody else. I work on that every day. But as society, and let's be honest, depending on what country you go to, it's better or worse. We have decided to give the power of our decisions to people who don't care because you are afraid to own your failure. You are afraid to own any decision in your life until it affects you or your kids. Then people want to own it. But if you don't have kids, if you don't have a spouse, if you have nothing and it's just you, people are afraid to own and take accountability for their own actions. And that's not everybody. That's a generalization. Don't get at me. But it's true that I have seen more and more people afraid to take ownership of their actions, take ownership of their decisions, and instead want to put it off and say, you decide this for me. You tell me what's right from wrong. My legacy will not be determined by anybody else but me. Nobody else. Will
Right.
yours?
Oh, I'm going to write this future like nobody's business all day, every day. You're talking about a warrior spirit.
And
Oh,
that's
my.
and that's
you
the
know,
point, right? That's what me and you, that's my community, that's my warriors, that's what we surround ourselves. We're going to take ownership, we're going to fail. We're not always going to succeed. Actually, that's a lie. We will, because we learn from our failures, we pick ourselves up, and we may need help. I may sit there and call you and say, Andrea, I'm struggling. Can you please pick me up? Um, I'm having a bad day or a bad week. Can you please help me through this? But we're still going to succeed because we learn from our failures. We learn from our mistakes. And my legacy is going to be that. Your legacy is going to be that of me saying Andrea Myler was one of the best women I knew, one of the best people I knew. She was a warrior to her core. She is somebody who would have fought tooth and nail for those that fought beside her, just as myself, just like so many others in our community. But why do we still find those even in our community? Not necessarily our community, but in the general community that want to
I,
put everything off on, well, it's because of this that I didn't get that, or it's because of this that I
mhm.
didn't get that. No, well, maybe, but it could quite possibly be own that failure, move on, and grow from it, and learn from it, and do better. Why are we still blaming the exterior? Why are we still blaming all this on everything else? Make your legacy. Be a warrior, be a fighter. Go out there, pick yourself up and own it and
I
earn it.
love it. I love it.
And I avoid these topics. I do. I try to avoid some of these topics. I really try to. But the fact of the matter is, I am getting so frustrated by society playing victim and saying they're being
I get
this,
it.
that, and the other when it's, look, maybe, yes, I'm not going to deny people are idiots. That happens, but own it. say, you know what? Okay, this is who I am. I'm going to move on. I'm going to work for it. I'm going to earn it. And I'm going to do better than you.
Right.
I'm going to shut you up because at the end of the day, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to let the haters who hate on me because of the exterior fuel me and let me do better. I'm going to let these people that are idiots and don't like who I am fuel me to let me do better and let your legacy be that of a warrior, that of a fighter, that of somebody who never gave up.
There you have it. That's it. Because you can't quit.
You're not allowed. You
No,
know me, Andrea. We
not
are
an
not allowed to
option.
quit. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 never going to happen. And so I look at these things and I get frustrated because legacy is so important. All we have is our name. My kids will carry on my name. And when they get older and people hear that name, I want them to carry it with pride.
Well,
My
there's power.
oldest is named after me and my father. I want him to carry that with pride, not as someone who regrets the fact that they were named after us. There is power in name. There
Yes.
is power in word, and there is
Yes.
power in sound. And I can go through a whole thing on that. I've watched quite a few videos. Sound is an amazing thing. Frequencies are an amazing thing. And that is time for another talk, talking about frequencies and nature and all that other stuff. We will,
Vibrations.
don't get me started on that. So we will talk about that eventually, but that is not today. So, Andrea, I want to thank you for coming on. Before we go, I want to get your final words, just because even with security happy hour, I would love to do it here. I want three things from you. Your final, actually two things technically. Your final words on who are you and what is your legacy. So kind of your opinion behind that, and then any words of wisdom that you have for our listeners.
I am a goddess, fragmented fragmented from so many experiences through life, but those things have not defined me, who I am. I am more like stardust, still finding my way, through the different parts of the universe, just allowing myself to flow freely and grow every day, evolving with who I am really on the inside. My words of wisdom is always be your whole authentic self. Don't let anyone determine who you should be, how you should be, or where you actually belong. You got this. You can do anything in this life that you want to do. Always believe in yourself.
I love that. And that goes back to so much that me and you talk about on security happy hour. We talked about it. Me and Rachel talked about it. It's me and Sacred Goddess talked about it. At least she'll listen to that one. There's been so much we talk about. And so for me, this is what I want to say. So before we sign off, who I am a father. I'm a husband. I am a son. I am a brother. I'm a warrior. I'm a cybersecurity professional. It's my job, not necessarily who I am, but you know what I'm getting at. And I am forever going to fight for people and fight for what is right, not based on anything other than who they are on the inside, because that is what matters. The exterior is going to fade, the exterior is going to go away. Who I am is a warrior for those who believe in themselves, a warrior for those who need help, a warrior for those who just need somebody. I am there. My legacy, well, that's for all of you to decide. That is for you to carry on and for you to figure out. I know what I want it to be. I know what my kids want. I know what I want my kids to carry from me. I know what I want my wife to say about me. I know what I want my sisters and my brothers and everybody else to say about me. But my legacy is not for me to decide. It is for me to try to influence what you think. I want to motivate, inspire, and help others as much as humanly possible while I am still living and breathing on this earth. And hopefully, once I am gone, that motivation, that inspiration lives on with you. As far as wisdom, my final words of wisdom: don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't do or that you don't belong. Quit identifying with what is on the exterior and start identifying with who you are on the inside. Colors, male, female, non binary, whatever. I don't care. None of that matters.
That's
What matters is who you are inside, and start looking at that. Start looking at what you want your legacy to be. Because the more we forget about the legacies we live behind, the more we forget about the stories that are told about us, is the more we quit caring about others and only care about ourselves. And when you do that, you become all of the people that you tell me you hate, you tell me you dislike, because it is at that point, it's all about self and has nothing to do with humanity. So think about that. Now, otherwise, I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. Well, today, whenever you're listening to this or watching this, this has been another amazing episode of Walk with Me. And Andrea, I want to thank you humbly. Thank you for coming on as my guest this evening. I know it was kind of short notice, but I mean, I wanted to do something different. Otherwise, you can check show notes, description, everything else for all the ways you can support the channel. That is Cash App, buying merchandise, PayPal, buy me a coffee membership, which is monthly. You name it, it's all there. And actually, me and some of my friends got some other things going on, which is actually free. So you may want to ask about that, or just check out the Pagan Project on TikTok and YouTube, because we've got books and we've got other things that we're giving away that you might be interested in. Now, otherwise, look, I love you all. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. I've been saying this a lot, but I truly mean it. It comes from the heart. Please enjoy your Odin's Day. Take this wisdom with you, both from Andrea and myself, and please spread wisdom everywhere you go,
yes.
because it is vastly needed in society today. We need to come together. Otherwise, I love you all. You all take care, and I will definitely catch you all next week. Or, if you watch any of my other videos, catch you later on. And I'll see you all next time.
Have a good one.